What did your parents teach you that you would never teach your children? I would never compare my kids to other kids. Not only did it make me feel shitty back then, it's made me unnecessarily competitive now, and I seem to compare every little thing of mine with other people's. How to rewind the VHS, never allowing me to tell my side of the story. When I was getting in trouble, most of the time it was my fault or something I could have done about it, but there were times that there was an honest explanation that would have explained the situation. And it was always talking back. Just give me a freaking second. God. So much this. I swore never to do this to my children. As a kid, I remember vividly sitting there so fucking confused because my parents just made up a completely bullshit story about what happened based on the small amount of it they witnessed. Instead of letting me explain what happened, I spent 2 weeks grounded one time because I broke a car window with my football. When I didn't even go outside that day. When it was actually broken when it was hit by a parking car. I couldn't understand why my parents wouldn't let me explain. It's so fucking weird and is a complete abuse of power to just arbitrarily decide right and wrong. Like that. That parents don't have to apologize if they are wrong because they are parents. I grew up in a big family, and many times one sibling would be blamed for another sibling's action, both by parents or other siblings. If I yelled at sibling A for something sibling B did, I would be made to apologize to sibling A. If my mom yelled at me for something sibling A did, after everything was sorted, I'd ask, "Are you going to apologize to me now?" And she would say, "I don't have to. I'm the adult. I have kids of my own now, and if I do something wrong, I apologize." I'm so lucky that my parents have actually been really good about this. My whole life they realize when they have messed up, and they will apologize. Never say a word if someone hurts you. Never object. Never protest, and if you cry, that is your weakness coming through. Don't cry. If you speak out when you are attacked, you will be attacked twice as hard. Silence is the only way through to safety. Say nothing. No matter what. This advice really fucked me over. Where the fuck did you grow up? Sounds like some shady shit there, bud. That may be the worst advice I have ever heard. This happened to me too. Keep crying for nothing, and I'll give you a good reason to cry. Sadly, that is not as uncommon as you think. Sometimes, parents won't specifically say that, but this is what our kid minds understand. There's no reason to be stressed. Everyone gets stressed, whether it's something big and life-changing or small and inconvenient. Growing up, my sister and I always heard, "You shouldn't be stressed about this. This isn't a big thing to stress over," and stuff like that. Instead of being taught to manage our stress, we've learned to hide it and bottle it up so our parents wouldn't think we're dramatic or something. Instead of teaching kids to not be stressed, I teach them how to manage stress in healthy ways, so they can eliminate it or be able to navigate through it easily. That crying to them will make things worse, not better. My parents still tell me that only weak people cry. Not a huge crier, but it does mess up your ability to process emotions. My parents taught me not to share my feelings. It has taken me a long time to be able to do this. I don't want my kids hiding their feelings, to be afraid of them. There's a post that keeps circulating that explains how I feel perfectly. It goes something like, "I don't want my kids to mess up and feel like they have to hide it from me. I want them to mess up and come to me asking what they should do. Mistakes are a part of life. My mom goes berserk when I make a small mistake like spilling a drink. And I don't want my kids to be afraid of being human. To never question authority, your elders. That's the worst one for me. If a person isn't curious and doesn't think by themselves about reality, they are only a shell of a human and will never fully live their own life. And it's a tough thing to learn later in life. Clean your plate. As a registered dietitian, I can say that this is hands down the worst thing you can do to your kids. Eating habits. It destroys their internal hunger and satiety case later in life. I struggled with my weight for years because of this one. Guilt trips. All the damn guilt trips. Got one today from my mother actually. Euro. That anxiety and depression are not real health problems. Oh yeah, I've dealt with that one too. Always blaming my sadness on stupid things like my phone. Why do you have an attitude? Quote. Yes, me too. When I was in a bad mood it was always because of those damn video games. Like, are you serious? My mom blames it on me going to middle school. The whole "believe this because I say so" hoax. Same, and now I'm stuck with kids who won't stop asking goddamn questions until I lose it. Proud and annoyed. Lol, I guess it's good for them to be curious. A curious child turns out to be a creative man or woman. And a critical thinking person. Good job. That my emotions are their fault. Growing up my mom would get frustrated with me and then lash out. She would then say something like, "I yell because you're making me so angry." No, was just a kid doing kid shit. You yelled because you're not in control of your emotions. I've caught my mom doing this shit with my daughter and I call her out on it. You can't put that shit on a kid. I let my daughter know that what she did may have been unkind or need correcting, but she is not responsible for the emotions of the adults around her. My mom did that kind of thing too. She would be a complete bitch because something was going on with her. Or if we did something when she was in that mood, that wouldn't have pissed her off another time. She would be a bitch. It was so confusing and scary as a kid. It didn't make any fucking sense. Once I grew up and realized she did this, I saw the same patterns with myself. I'm sorry you went through that. That you have to give granny, grandpa, uncle pervert a kiss goodbye. No. No, you fucking don't. It's your body. You get to decide who you hug, kiss, etc. You're not allowed to be rude, so you have to say hello, goodbye. But you don't have to hug or kiss anyone you don't want to. Not even granny. Not even if she really wants a kiss, and she'll be disappointed if you don't kiss her. Used to hate that shit, didn't mind hugs. But not the kisses. Some people do some weird ass kisses. No disrespect to my granddad, but he used to do multiple quick kisses on my neck. I knew them as vampire kisses, although he didn't bite. Thankfully. I'm big, you're small. I'm right, you're wrong. Matilda. Lol. Bless Danny DeVito. Always cry if you need to. I spent most of my childhood getting yelled at to stop crying, and it really fucks you up. You grow up internalizing negative emotions and even blow them off, which of course doesn't help. Also, to never be scared to approach me with anything you're concerned about. I'm 25, but I still have to lie and keep secrets from my dad cause he would blow TF up or shut me up if I vented to him about anything that dealt with relationships, my mental health, or health-related matters, tampon usage, birth control, gyno appointments, etc. Your father is always right. Even if he is wrong, you must still obey him, because he is your father. I always make sure to tell the kids I've been wrong before. It was a Tuesday. I was always a tomboy growing up, but my mom and grandma were very persistent on trying to raise me based off of crazy Asian beauty standards and being a proper girl. Wouldn't let me play outside because they didn't want me to be dark. Always forcing me to wear clothes I wasn't comfortable in. Making sure I didn't play with my male cousins' games or toys even though I hated playing with dolls. I honestly think they were afraid I might be lesbian or undesirable to men. 30 plus years later they complain that I'm old and worry I'm not married with kids. It's because they left me with extreme low self-esteem and self-confidence, which lead me to make horrible choices in relationships. That teachers are always right. Hey, my 10th grade biology teacher didn't know that nerve cells could reproduce. This was in 2002. Spoiler alert, they can. We've known that for a while now. To be ashamed when I make a mistake. Ultra-conservative religious mother, she's gotten better. Thankfully. Nothing more crippling and counterproductive than shame and self-loathing. The most important thing I'll teach my children is to be good. But don't be nice. I've been a doormat my whole life just because nobody ever taught me the difference between being a decent person and a doormat. I'm 30 plus and I'm still working on this part of my personality. I don't want my children to go through this. Ever. I feel this. You get pulled into a false sense of being a nice person when really you just let people treat you however they want and apologize to them for it. It's the fucking worst. To be afraid of money. I spent so much of my childhood walking on eggshells because of my mom's constant anxiety over money. If I ever asked for anything, she'd look at me like I was about to put her into financial ruin. My mom flipped out when I spent half my money, $80, on fireworks. I told her that it was my money and I've got a savings account anyway. She acted as if I had spent her money. That growing up was something to fear and dread. There was a lot of enjoy your chocolate now because when you're an adult you can't eat it. Enjoy watching TV now because when you're an adult you have to clean all the time. Do you ever see me relaxing? I wish I was back at school with my friends all day instead of working a job I hate. You just wait. You will hate your job too. When you become an adult there's no nice clothes. Just work clothes and home clothes. Adults don't have hobbies. So enjoy it while you can. Now as an adult I see that these were all choices. I can eat whatever I like. I do not have to clean all day. I do not live in a show home. I have had jobs that I didn't like. I made the choice to job hunt and find something else. I can choose to buy clothes I like and wear to work and at home. It's my choice to pursue my interests or not. I'm often annoyed how easy adulthood is. Not because it is, but because it was always presented to me as this mountain of misery and I've chosen to eat the chocolate and play my cello instead. Childhood was way worse. You can't change your family. You can't change your school or place that you live in. It's hell for some kids. School is hell too. When you grow up you can get a job. If you hate it you can look for another job. It may not be easy to do this but the option is always there. You almost can never change schools, at least here, because of zoning restrictions and other things. You are limited to one school. Better make it work for you somehow. Few parents want to homeschool their kids. But you always at least have the option of changing jobs. Any person of color is of lower status class. If a boy is mean to you, he likes you. Worst lesson ever. Grades are everything. Yeah, never teaching my kids that, if I have any, that defending yourself in an argument is bad. My dad is a pretty great guy, but he always taught us to only vote conservative. That certainly wasn't a great way to foster much meaningful thought about politics. My mom only vilified conservatives. She taught us they were bad people. That's the problem with politics in the US. It feels like every Democrat thinks every Republican lacks empathy while every Republican thinks every Democrat lacks logic. It's gotten so bad to a point where it feels like there's no room for civil discourse. To be clear, I am Canadian. The Conservative Party was who my dad encouraged voting for. The US may be the most blatant example of dividing politics, but it exists pretty well everywhere. My parents were unconditionally supportive. Everything I did was the best and perfect and I was a genius. I will be giving my daughter constructive criticism, because that is how we get better at things. Bad financial habits, which I've broken, thankfully. Instead of telling them to get a real job that makes actual money, allow them to follow their talents and passion in the first place. Whatever it may be. I also wouldn't want to judge them on their looks. When my beard grew out for the first time it almost felt like I was being harassed to shave it off. So I ended up doing it for the longest time. Then when my mom got a haircut she expected me to say it looks nice, which felt super frustrating. The real job comments from parents can be so crushing when you're young and hopeful. But it's such a hard one to deal with in practice, as parents have much more appreciation for the road ahead and someone picking their first job, major, trade, My folks really encouraged my sister's art, put her through art school, etc. She's married to another artist now, which, although they are reasonably happy, means they are stuck in mostly flexible bar waitress work, unemployment, and some art gigs. They rely on family-donated living space, cars, cash, etc. I'm not sure I could advise my kids to blindly follow their passions into that difficult situation. Thank you so much for watching and have a good day.